And I had a guest at my store last week. Actually, it was the husband of a lady who was shopping. And he was sitting and he took the brochure that I have sitting on my counter that it belongs to Senior Wealth Advisor Darren Farwell of Scotia Wealth Management. And he says, I listen to your show every week. In fact, I make sure that my wife and I are up in time to hear Darren, because what he talks about when he talks about investing tax efficiently really, really captured my imagination and my mind. So Darren, that's a comment from a listener. And for the last few weeks, we've been talking about the 5 reasons for life insurance. And I've had a few calls about that. And you've shared some happy stories where parents were able to leave, to ensure that their kids could keep their cottage by having that life insurance. And you've actually impressed me, because I thought life insurance was just something you took out in term for a while and then sort of gave up as you got older. So I appreciate the information myself, and I realize that my listeners appreciate that. What do you have for us today?
Well, first of all, thank you for that story about the person coming into the store.
Mint.
I've got a little. Well, listeners will those couple will soon notice my voice is kind of breaking down this morning.
Sorry.
Due to the strain of 2 events. Number one, there was the intense engagement at the Toronto Maple Leaf game on Monday. First of all, of course, yelling, cheering, encouragement, and then gnashing my teeth, quite typically in despair. The second thing this week was, just last night I took a few clients to an exclusive performance of a jazz great, really, Ora Rully. Amongst her many achievements, she toured for 2 years with Duke Ellington. And towards the end of a very long set, she had us singing at the top of her lungs, Blackbird, if you remember that song.
Yes.
Marilyn, do you know that one?
I didn't know you were musically inclined. It's usually the sports you talk about, but now you'll have to whisper to the mic. Save your voice.
She was great, quite great. So bear with me. Over the last few weeks, I have been talking about why so many successful Canadians, Canadian people who have paid for their homes, don't have debt, their children have been successfully launched from the nest, are considering life insurance again. In fact, it's a part of most financial planning conversations these days. So I want to continue to review the 5 reasons why people might consider buying life insurance at this stage of their life. Number 1 was to provide a minimum legacy for your chosen beneficiaries. And last week I told a happy story about a couple who decided that at a minimum they would like to leave $500,000 for each of their 3 children. Their only objective was simply to provide a quick, easy transfer of wealth on death, making life for their kids much easier. And, they wouldn't need to worry about their legacy in the case they decided to spend all of their money while they were alive. Number 2, life insurance provides a simple, easy, and tax-efficient way to cover the taxes owing on your estate at death. Here we heard about a woman who still owned a cottage, rental properties, and a home in Florida in her name. According to the estate analysis, the forecast tax bill on her death would be close to $900,000. She was happy to buy life insurance to help her beneficiaries, her kids in this case, pay the tax bill quickly and easily, particularly as she could afford the insurance and her children did want to keep the properties. Third, life insurance is a tax-efficient, guaranteed investment in its own right. All the returns in insurance policy grow tax-free and get paid out tax-free at the end. I think most listeners at some point in their lives have heard about the miracle of compound interest. Well, an even greater miracle in today's world is the miracle of tax-free compound interest. And a life insurance policy does provide that.
Nobody thinks tax-free anymore.
Well, tax-free is quite exceptional. It's one of the reasons, by the way, that we love the tax-free savings account. Because there's actually the second example of pure tax-free growth. So take advantage of your tax-free savings account.
You're always proving you don't know what you don't know. And me, I don't know what I forget. And you've been talking about the tax-free savings account, and I still forgotten it. I'm sorry, I needed the reminder.
Well, and the good news is if you've forgotten previous years, you can catch up for all those contributions you didn't do, Marilyn. So you can put in the full amount all at once or just catch up on years you missed.
Thank you.
It's a great idea for anybody who has savings that are outside of registered plans that aren't invested in a tax-free savings account. So there are 2 that we still haven't talked about. Number 4 insurance is a tax-smart way of making charitable donations or other philanthropic giving. And the next time I'm on the radio and my voice is a little steadier, I'll talk more about that one because it's a very important one. And number 5, many people these days have started families much later in life, and there's often a need to cover the risk of loss of income from one of the members of the family who are the main breadwinners. So today I actually have a happy story about that. The happy story is because the man I met a few months ago had never been married or settled down until he was 48 years old. At 48 years old, well, one might wonder why. Very good-looking man, lots of money. He was a bit of a workaholic and traveled an awful lot, an entrepreneur, so always very, very busy. But then he decided to make a change. He met a woman, and at 52 years old, he's now married with a much younger wife, but 2 very young children, a 2-year-old and a 4.5-year-old. Now, Steve is very happy about this, but he also wants to be sure if something happens to him that they'll be looked after at this point, and his family does rely 100% on his income. So here's what we did. His income adds about $220,000 per year to the household. He intends to work for another 13 years. So we added up that stream of income. His household is depending on him for $220,000 a year. We inflated it by 2% for the next 13 years. What we then did is took that future stream of income and brought it back to the present value at a discount rate of 3.5%. After doing all those calculations, what we found is the present value of his future stream of contribution to the family is about $2.5 million. So the intention is for him to buy life insurance for $2.5 million, such that if something were to happen to him, his family would be insured to have the money that he would have contributed to the household. So Steve's really happy about having that life insurance because financially, and of course we know it's not all about the money, but financially his family will not be worse off if something happens to him. So Marilyn, life insurance can provide peace of mind that loved ones won't be financially burdened, and with families today starting often much later in life, or even with the growing number of second marriages, that is something that can be important even at a later stage in life.
So you can actually buy a good night's sleep and peaceful night's sleep by thinking about life insurance to cover the loss of income if you're in a position where that's a concern. So it's a good example, and I think Steve should be grateful that he's got someone like you in his corner to suggest and cover those risks so he can live his life and not worry about the if-onlys, because none of us know what happened from moment to moment. So thanks for sharing that happy story. If someone's sitting there and they just want to talk about life insurance in general and cover these 5 topics, because it's very personal what someone has and what they want to invest and what they want to do. With this sore throat, are you going to the office?
I am going to the office this morning, Marilyn.
So a short conversation to organize something with Darren, as long as he keeps his voice, all we have to do is call you. And I've got your number by heart, 416-863-7501. And just call and ask for Darren. If he loses his voice entirely, then it'll go to voicemail, and I'm sure he'll call you back by Monday. A little bit of honey and lemon and hot tea.
I'll give that a try, Marilyn. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. I've made notes, and I'm going to put on my website the 5 reasons one could have life insurance, or perhaps you could send them to me so I have the terminology correct.
We'll do that.
Thank you.